Polly Bancroft has been an integral part of We Play Stronger, which is taking football into areas where it has an enormous potential to actually really change the landscape when it comes to how young girls get involved in sport and how they progress through that and keep involved in physical activity all the way through. So, ladies and gentlemen, Polly Bancroft. Welcome, Polly.
Thank you.
We put on some rain. I know it's probably a little bit more snow in Switzerland at the moment, but thank you so much for saying yes when I asked to come over. We've got this. There's a mix. We've got some good, lovely graphics to actually go through and to talk through about the campaign here and how it has grown, where it is at the moment, and where it's going to next. But the genesis of the idea as to where We Play Stronger, give us a little insight on where that came from within the enormous wide range that UEFA covers.
We knew football had a problem. We knew it had an image problem, or women's football had an image problem. It wasn't perceived to be cool. It was perceived to be a masculine sport. There was no interest or awareness of women's football. So there was quite a lot of problems or challenges that we had to overcome. So really it was a recognition that something needed to be done, but it was also born out of insight as well. So much of the research and insight that our colleagues are using at the moment, this is very much an insight-led campaign. And it's reacting to what the girls are telling us, what they want to see out of a campaign for football. And I'm programmed to say football rather than soccer, so apologies.
I know, that is always a tricky one here. We've got our own football as well here as well, so it does tend to be soccer, but yeah, the world calls it football, so we can run with that over the course of the next half an hour. We've got some of the graphics and things like that actually sort of back up the thing. So talk us through that, I guess, as we're rolling through them. But as you say, the big question was, how can we get girls to play football? And the sort of the start point for that.
Yeah, and obviously girls do play football, women do play football, but how can we get more women and girls to play football, and how can we make it not just a minority sport, but one that's front and centre, so it's not just an afterthought, but what is it that we can do to get more women and girls into play? So that was really the first question that we asked. Mm-hmm. We have 5 key insights, which I think we come on to talk about later, but that was really the premise or the opening of this campaign, is what can we do to get more to play?
Okay, let's roll through some of the graphics now so that we can see. Sorry, Deirdre up in the box. This will be the most challenging part of the thing, but fantastic to have that facility there. So creating a movement, accelerating that growth and getting them involved. This whole idea of sport being seen as cool, that was an important part of this as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and teenage girls particularly won't do anything unless they perceive that it's cool. So we have to try and improve the image of football, rather than, 10, 20 years ago, or even still currently, women running around in men's shirts on terrible pitches. We need to try and improve the image and bring it a bit more up to date and a bit more current. It also needs to be seen on social media. We also need to have influencers activating around women's football as well, which is in the space that teenage girls currently are. So it's about trying to uplift the whole image of the game. And the movement, this isn't UEFA on its own, this isn't the national associations on their own, it's not broadcasters, it's not just commercial partners, it's everybody together. So it's how can we use a combined approach to help achieve this rather than just in silos. Okay,
because you have a look at some of the questions that were asked in order to get that very much an evidence-based approach towards creating the campaign and then rolling on. I think we've got those on screen coming up next now as well. Yeah, so again, talking about the massive opportunity and all of those trends moving in the same direction. So I think if we roll through them now, we'll see what some of the things to emerge were. Yeah, there you go. 2/3 of the world interested in football, and yet we weren't capturing that.
Yeah, that's right. And we know 51% of the population are female. If you're selling a product, if you're selling toothbrushes, you don't just sell to 50% of the population. Football is a product, so we need to consider the whole market and not just half of it. And yes, 2/3 of the world's population are interested in football. So we know we have a big target market to start with. which is a huge potential and a huge opportunity.
How much of the sort of the coverage that we've seen in recent years over the World Cup and the European Championships and the Lionesses have been to the fore in that from the English team, but the Americans before that as well. How much of that has sort of filtered through into actually a playing population, or was that where the gap was that you thought that you needed to fill?
We know there are global movements, as we've mentioned earlier today, so the Me Too, She for He, those kind of campaigns are prevalent, certainly, and we see it more on a weekly, a daily basis now that, the industry is changing and wider industry is changing as well. So there is a call for these kind of movements to occur. Some of the work, whether it's the Lionesses or the Orange Lionesses in the Netherlands, they're looking at building an identity for their women's national teams, and I know the FAI are doing similar work here as well. So it's trying to make those teams stand out. What is their unique proposition? What is their USP? And how are they different from the men's teams? It's the same sport, but they do have unique qualities that we can help bring to the fore.
Okay, because no matter which way you look at it, football is the world sport. It's the easiest to play. Jumpers for goalposts. Everybody can do it and can get involved in it. So if we can tap in, if we can turn football into a gender, I won't say gender neutral, but gender equal pastime and activity, that's going to have a huge impact on society. But is society in the right place to actually sort of foster that, or was that one of the things that you were finding when you were going through this?
Well, it's personally one of my biggest bugbears. We have football and women's football. Why don't we have men's football and women's football, or just football in total? So, at UEFA, we won't see that for the next 4 or so years. I think maybe our next strategy from 2024 onwards, that could be something that we look at. But the US are doing that already. They already have their men's national team, teams across sports, and then they have their women's national team. So there are countries that are doing it. Iceland, Scandinavia, Sweden in particular are already there. So it's a societal change. It is happening. It's just when that can happen in individual markets, we just need to keep pushing and pushing step by step, and it will come.
So in order to create the campaign, you needed to do that research and to get the insights. We can have a look now at what those insights are one by one, and we can go through it as we roll through. The 5 of them that are very important in terms of setting. So that was who you went out. You spoke to everybody. Wide ranging. Is there a danger sometimes that there were too many disparate voices that were impacting on that?
I don't think so. I think when you're writing a strategy, you want to consult, with your end user, because, whilst all of us in here might have our own ideas about the name of a campaign or the content, actually we're not the target market. Teenage girls or younger girls are the target market. So whilst even some of my colleagues may have a problem with the word strong or we play strong, it's not with them in mind. The girls are really happy with the word strong. They want to be perceived as strong, and they like the campaign and that it's tested with them. So there's no harm in consultation whatsoever. Okay,
that is kind of unusual actually, to go to the end user, the end campaign person on it, because 12, 13-year-old girls, you're kind of thinking, well, maybe I won't ask them. Maybe I'll ask somebody who knows what they're thinking, and doesn't that way lie danger and dead ends. To run through the insights then, the ones that emerged from it, talk us through them as they go.
Yeah, so there's nothing brand new here, but some of the reasons why girls don't play football, first is opportunity. I know we spoke earlier this morning about access to facilities as well, but also parents taking their daughters, particularly dads taking their daughters to football, just wasn't happening at the same scale that they would take their boys or their sons. So really, when the girls, they have fewer opportunities, but also at the time they are taken to football, it's at a much later stage to when the boys get their opportunity to go. So when the girls do arrive, and they're maybe against the boys who have already had multiple times or opportunities to play in the playground or in the park or after school, they think, well, I'm rubbish, I can't do this. But it's not the case. It's because they haven't had so many opportunities to play as the boys. So really, some of the campaign speaks to parents, it speaks to adults to say, come on, take your daughter to football alongside with your son. So there is that perception that they're not as good, which we need to get rid of. Also, girls will hear, well, football's not for you, it's a boys' sport, so they're hearing that around the playground as well, and that's something we need to change. But yeah, the first lot of insights into why girls don't play was not really groundbreaking, but it's helped to lead some of the campaigns that we've done. I know we have a video to show about a campaign that's calling to dads to take their daughters to football as well.
Yeah, that's right. We have that towards the end. That sort of sense of of them not being good enough. I kind of hear that all the time. So why are you always banging on about girls' sport and women's sport? It's not as good. And it's not as quick, or it might not be as strong, because there are physical differences between men and women, even at that sort of elite level of sport. But just because it's different doesn't mean that it's actually not. Is that a challenge, that we're judging the sport on the women's side against the sort of the historical level benchmarks that we've had on the men's side?
For sure, there are physical differences, and there's not much we can do about that. But the word play in Together We Play Strong really draws out the skills of some of the elite players and grassroots players as well. So we have some freestylers to demonstrate skills. We use some of the elite players as well across Europe to showcase the skills that they have got as well. And we saw the takeouts from Ada Hegerberg from Sunday evening, and my God, she can finish.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's showing these kinds of content to dispel some of those myths.
We have our own superstar here as well, Stephanie Roach, who that goal. Actually, the lady in Dublin City Council who's running the Gaga was Eileen Gleeson, who was her manager, or not her manager, but she was the one that filmed that goal. And it's not that we beat her, but James Rodriguez just wasn't as good, but that's again for another day. So just the last couple of insights then as we roll through before we and then we've got a couple of videos of the campaign to show as well. But finishing those out, what were the last insights as to why they do actually play football and that?
So again, nothing groundbreaking here. Girls do want to be competitive as well as have fun, but they don't want to be competitive at the expense of having fun and developing social skills and spending time with their friends. So that was, I guess, fairly obvious, I suppose. We've got the last two.
We do. We've got 4 and 5 on there as well. Yeah.
This one was quite interesting. So if we're looking to profile the type of girls that play football, her parents have got some affordable income, so they can afford to send her to after-school activities. Her parents are physically active. So if the father plays sport, the children are 50% likely to play sport. But if the mother plays sport as well, the children are 95% likely to play. So again, if we're trying to target an audience to start to play football, we'd look at these two metrics, and also that she has a brother. So again, she's more likely to be outside, again, playing in the garden or in the park with her siblings. So that was, I guess, probably not groundbreaking, but good to see it on a slide.
Yeah.
And then the last one was around confidence. So we did some pan-European research to look into the confidence levels that girls can take from playing football or from playing sport. And luckily for us, football came out as the sport that gives girls the most self-confidence. Together We Play Strong is aimed at a teenage audience, and as we know, teenagers drop out of sport at an alarming rate, but actually they're dropping out at the time that they need it most. So when they're hitting puberty and they're reducing in confidence levels, actually if they stay in the game, they can remain confident or can improve their confidence. So this research was done really with parents in mind as well, as a note to say, keep your daughters in sport, because she's likely to do better in school, do better as an individual and further down the line as well. So it's some really interesting statistics to see. It has been. It's been one of the themes throughout all of the conversations we've had today about confidence and the confidence of girls and then young women to actually sort of put themselves forward and to go out there and do that. But as you say, if football is a means of doing that, you don't need a magic pill. You don't need a sort of a degree course in confidence to actually sort of do that. You do it by being it and by doing it. We've got the first of a couple of videos now because it is a very visual campaign, and that's what really strikes. So if we can have a look at that now, and we'll see what it's all about.
Most girls who play football quit when they hit their teens. Why? Because suddenly, other people's judgments start to matter. Girls might love the sport, but if their friends don't think it's cool, then it's game over. UEFA wanted to change that. But how are they ever going to keep teenage girls in the game and get more to play? You can't just tell a teenager what's cool, but they can convince each other. So we created a campaign that made teen girls both the message and The Messenger. Together We Play Strong is a campaign designed around how girls use social media, starring over 750 teen footballers across Europe. The campaign highlights the skill, confidence and friendships that come with playing the game, making football relevant to teen girls wherever they might be.
We got things to do.
Guess who loved it? Together We Play Strong has had over 200 million campaign views, over 53,000 fans on social, and over 17,900 mentions on Twitter and Instagram alone. We've even scored over 1 billion social media impressions, all without traditional above-the-line media spend. More importantly, 73% of teenage girls who've seen the campaign say they'd want to play football because they can finally see why they'd love to join our squad.
That's great. That's powerful. Powerful numbers as well to bring to to your own bosses within UEFA as to what you've been able to do. So you did the research. You got the campaign going. That gave you your target audience and your strategy. So if we can just talk about that a little bit, and then we'll show the sort of the campaign video, the primary campaign video. But in terms of that channel, you mentioned there about the fact that there was no above-the-line spend on it. How challenging is it? Like, how easy is it to get to 1 billion impressions without actually paying anybody to talk about it?
We're lucky we have 55 football associations that are members of UEFA, so we have a large reach across Europe. The likes of Rita Ora and some of the professional men's players have got a huge reach as well. So, we're able to pick up the phone and use people who have a large reach. So we're lucky in that respect. We're working with the likes of the FAI and the IFA to make sure that this campaign dials into girls here and in Northern Ireland as well, make sure that if they see the campaign, they can then follow it through and find a place to play or find a suitable session to attend. So we've done a lot of work on raising the awareness, but we need to make sure that journey is in place for girls as well.
That is a key part, isn't it? Because we can love stuff on social. That's a great earworm piece of music as well. We had one here, big show on Friday night, which had Baby Shark, which is revived Baby Shark, which will drive most of us mad. But hopefully that one will just displace it in those terms. But the connection then to finding a place to play, finding a team to play with, because if it strikes you as an individual on this, it's still a big step to actually go towards finding the group.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff is probably the easiest to do, to then make sure that when the girl attends the club or the school and has a positive experience, to keep her in the game. That's almost the harder part to do. But the FAI will be launching a campaign, a version of this campaign domestically next year. So we're really looking forward to working with them on that. And I know the IFA have got it embedded in their strategy and their work with Electric Ireland as well. So we're working our way through the federations to make it bespoke and suitable to each market. Because, like you said, we need to make sure that the girls are transitioning from seeing it on YouTube and Instagram to finding a club and having a positive experience at that end.
It is brilliant support. The primary campaign video we've got to show now, which is what those young girls, and it was very much targeted, wasn't it? It's
teenage girls,
it's like teenage girls, teenage from 13 all the way through to 17.
Yes.
Okay, all right, yeah. So that's I know I've just lived through that sort of 13 to 17, and we're just starting out on it again. And there's a lot of different stages along the way there. So tough to hit each of them, but you kind of do it.
And we know as well the younger girls will look up to teenagers for inspiration. They want to see what the older girls are doing. So we expect some of the younger age group to look into it as well.
I saw that late last night. My oldest daughter has just finished pre-dev. I'll come back.
Okay.
Signals crossed, ain't got time to talk. Misinterpret us, man, we got things to do. Them get signals crossed, ain't got time to talk. Misinterpret interpretate us, man. We got things to do. Write it off, swipe it off, write it off, swipe it off, write it off, swipe it off. Shut them up and waste it. Take a swipe at it, write it off, write it off. Take a swipe at it. Better get out our way. Better get out our way.
It's great. One of the... I love the animated wings. They,
That's the growing in confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we can talk for hours, but if you can capture one phrase, one image that actually makes a connection. Just coming back to that sort of the difference of the and the confidence side of it from the girls that are playing. Like that video, that connects to me, but I'm not a teenage girl. Mm-hmm. The reach to get into them, how difficult was that to actually sort of go through breaking it down bit by bit to actually sort of reach out? I know you spoke to them directly, but was there an awful lot of testing, retesting, you know, iteration?
Yeah. So I think our first attempt was players one, and then ultimately it came to together we play strong. So we did test, like I said, particularly the word strong, which in Eastern Europe may have had connotations of being quite muscly or too fierce, but actually it's strength of mind, strength of character, confidence. You know, if you get knocked down, can you go again? So yeah, we tested all of the words. The together and the we is the sense of the girls wanting to develop social skills and be a part of a friendship group and having fun. The play is the skill, so bringing those elements through the content, and then the strong is the strength of mind, strength of character. So we've used all of the research and insight and our findings there in the name and also within the imagery and the content that we use as well.
Okay, and we're looking there at the confirmed elements of the campaign which are running through over the end of this year and into next year, and presumably some of these will be ones that we'll see here in Ireland. Tell us a little bit about Rita Ora and connecting into that whole kind of musical, entertainment, social side of it.
Yeah. So we didn't just want a celebrity that would tick a box for us. We wanted someone that would really buy into the campaign. And with Rita and her single girls, it was a perfect time to align with Rita. Even within her tour, she had freestylers on stage doing kick-ups and skills. She's a football fan as well. You see her accessorise her outfits in PSG or Arsenal kit as well. So she is a football supporter. And it's really key to pick the right ambassadors or the right influencers to help raise the profile of football. So she really believes in it, and she's done a voiceover of one of our videos as well. So yeah, she was key and great to have as an ambassador.
Cool, great stuff. We've got one slide that I just want to have a look at before we show the final video as well. It's based on the numbers and some of the results that we've actually got from it. Talk us through some of those, because, you know, evidence-based produces numbers that are undeniable, and it moves beyond the warm feeling about a campaign towards kind of hard-nosed stuff. So which are these ones that really struck you as being winners?
So the perception of football being cool has increased from 12% to 25%. Yeah. So we're doing quite well on that respect. There's some metrics that have stayed quite steady, so we know we've got more work to do. But the number of people following women's football on TV and online has increased as well. So that's why at the start I said about this movement being across stakeholders, because we can't just be reliant on UEFA or the member associations as well. This has to be, you know, working with our broadcasters and our media partners as well. So it's a good start, but still plenty to do.
Like the online readership, we spoke earlier about, you know, media having a choice now as to whether to carry it and cover it. The more noise you make in social, the more people that get engaged, the more media will follow. Yeah. Which creates this nice virtuous circle. So
and our big number there are 5.2 million, so that's the followers that we have across our platforms, and that's really the one that then commercial partners are interested as well. So if you know you've got access to 5.2 million people, that helps in the conversations. And we'll be launching our first ever sponsor or commercial partner for women's football this week. They've just signed a 7-year deal on the back of this work that we've been doing with Together We Play Strong. So it's
great. That's pan-European.
That's right, yeah.
Great. Read all about it in Sport for Business later on in the week. The sustainability of something like this. I know you haven't spent anything above the line, but campaigns like this don't come cheap. I know UEFA is very well funded and is very generous in terms of how it distributes that money, but in terms of a commitment to this end of the campaign, it is one small subset of women's football. I think it's the most crucial, but it is only one. How sustainable is it? Because some of those numbers they're only moving gently, and it's going to need a continual push on it. The commitment is there, obviously. Is it there in the long term? Are we going to be looking at this in 10 years' time?
Yeah, absolutely. And if we break it down, this is really a campaign for teenage girls. So ideally those that are currently playing and those that might have the intent to play in the future. But if we think of women's football as an entirety, it's from grassroots, schools, national team, domestic league, women in football, administrators, referees, coaches. So there's a whole, other side and a much larger part of the game that isn't touched on with this campaign. So we're currently drafting UEFA's very own first strategy for women's football that will be launched in February next year, and that's a much larger commitment from UEFA to the women's game, which is great news. We're a bit behind the advice that we've been giving to federations over the past 5 years, but we'll finally have our first one there. And for me, it's about accountability. So it's not just having a nice piece of paper or a nice strategy to say, we've got this document, but it's making sure that those ambitions are filtered down into responsible people. You've got the budget, you have a timeline, you have targets in there as well. And also it's cross-department. So it's rather than still have a specific women's department that can help upskill and train other areas of the business, but this shouldn't just be women's football or women for women's football, but you need your marketing team, you need commercial, you need communications, you need business development. So this is across the business, and that's really what the UEFA Women's Football Strategy will be aiming to do.
This is the best way of doing stuff, isn't it? Great. We've seen the video which is targeting the teenage girls and how we're trying to persuade them to actually make the choice themselves. But as in anything, and particularly at that age, there are influencers around them as well. And one of the insights that we saw earlier was that it's people like me, it's dads that are actually sort of going there as well. So we've got one short little video on on one of the elements of the campaign. Is this live out there now?
Yeah, so this is on select match days for Men's Champions League, Men's Europa League, and Men's Nations League as well. So we're working with the FAI and the IFA to select male players who can dial up this campaign during those select match nights. So when you're watching this campaign on TV, you go onto your phone and you see the likes of Robbie Keane, who are also sharing this kind of content and sharing images of their daughters or of their family members playing football as well.
Great, excellent. So we'll just have a quick look at this last video. You know that music is going to be playing around in my head. We don't get it right all the time, but when we do get it right, it can have a huge impact. And that sort of reaching out to dads to take the initiative and to take advantage of it, because the natural thing is that I was brought by my dad to men's football matches, sadly to Queen's Park Rangers. Don't know how that happened. But if we're aware of the fact that if you have a boy and a girl, that you need to do it equally for them, that you need to bring them to the matches, that you need to bring them to the training grounds and things like that, it can be a huge winner. Is that something? Have you got feedback from those across other European markets as well, that it's really sort of playing well with that audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if we have it on the last couple of slides as well, but we saw, so when we were asking the likes of Alan Shearer to share pictures of him and his daughters playing football, that then spurs on user-generated content. So if it's okay for Alan Shearer to do it, oh, well, it's okay for me to do it as well.
Okay.
And it just calls out to other dads that it's okay to take your daughters to football. And yes, you know, like Liddell said, we shouldn't be having to do this, but we are doing it, and actually it's working quite nicely, and they're sharing some really, really nice images of them and their daughters playing.
Great.
So it makes it okay to do.
Okay, yeah, well, it's a society thing as well. You know, 10 years ago, probably would have thought of house husbands as being a derogatory term, whereas now we're all aspiring to be. Wouldn't that be nice? I'm sure we've got a couple of questions for Polly from the room. Yeah, Rebecca.
Great conversation, really enjoyed the insights, thanks very much. I just wanted to ask your opinion on to what extent the intense focus that society puts on women's physical appearance has a detrimental effect on the uptake of women in sport, particularly around younger women, not wanting to look silly or sweaty or hair mussed around. I suppose the Kardashian effect, really. I mean, how much is that to blame?
So we have a vlog series, so we follow 4 elite women's players across Europe, and that shows the behind-the-scenes style of being an elite player. So you see them in the ice baths, you see them round at other players' apartments making food, you see them at team building activities, and that really shows what it's like to be an elite women's player. It's not just the glossy stuff in front of the camera, but it's the hard work behind. It might be the journey to the game or in the team bus. And actually, it's that whole package of being a team player that we're bringing out through the vlog series. So we're conscious and we're aware of of body consciousness as well. And we're trying within the image and within the content to bring out different shapes and sizes, and certainly sweat as well, because we can't play at an elite level or any level without getting sweaty. So yeah, we're absolutely conscious of that, and certainly through the vlog series, that's a platform at the moment to bring out some of those.
Great, thanks Rebecca. We've got time for one more. Paul.
Hi, Polly. Just with soccer, a lot of the best-known players in the world have come from lower socioeconomic groups, like favelas in Sao Paulo, for instance. So how do you get this campaign to reach people who don't have Wi-Fi or aren't active on digital media?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is digital, so a lot of it is online. We have a video that's called Play Anywhere, and there's some fantastic footage from the Faroe Islands and from all over Europe that shows people playing in the street, playing on a bus, playing in the school playground, just to show that you don't have to have the latest facility to be able to play football. You can play anywhere. It's a European campaign, and the vast majority of European teenagers are online, which is where we felt our biggest hits could come. I think if I was at FIFA, it would be a tougher job to try and reach the 211 associations that they have, and it might be more print media as well. But luckily in Europe, there's a larger access for online, which is where our biggest target market is.
Great. Time for one more if we have.
Just in relation to that stat about doubling the positive association of it being cool, how was that measured, or what was the metric that was used to translate that across to looking at other sports? Yeah,
so we spoke to 10 markets across Europe. So it's nationally representative surveys across 10 markets, and then done a proxy for across Europe. So it's our own research that we've done on the word cool, if that helps answer.
Cool. It's cool to be cool. Okay, I promised Polly that I was going to let you away. You've got to be in a taxi to jump back to the airport. So thank you for the insight. Thanks for the campaign. Looking forward to seeing more of it in Ireland over the coming months. But ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Switzerland, Polly Bancroft.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you. Cheers. Speak to you soon. Thank you.